What's good, y'all? Hopefully by the title of this video, you kind of get a quick understanding of that this isn't going to be a typical video that I've been putting out recently. The different vlogs and day in the lives, I've been getting more comfortable about editing and putting out on YouTube. I would say for the most part, the main reason I've been kind of not putting out more variety in my videos and these kind of like quick sit downs of getting, my thoughts out is because I still feel like I haven't found my voice yet. Figuring out what I want to say and saying it eloquently in a method that I feel like people are going to kind of gravitate to is something that I've still been kind of in search for. But being that I'm in this period of not trying to procrastinate for the most part, sometimes I gotta just get out of my own head and just do it, not care about how it comes out, if it fails, if it doesn't get enough, views on YouTube and stuff like that. Because more than anything, I gotta understand that I gotta just be head first and committed into becoming better. And that starts with doing stuff like this. So getting out of my comfort zone, this is a part of it. So without further ado, I'm going to just get right into it. Passion and purpose. Now, when it comes to passion and purpose, one question that I feel like is a great way to kind of figure out what it is that you would want to do and what you should kind of go head first in is, if you knew you couldn't fail in life, what would you do? Because I've seen that in plenty of YouTube videos, different books, and especially in podcasts, because that's just what I've been listening to for the most part. Like I said, that video has come up a lot, and it really makes you think about what's important to you, and it's a kind of a good gauge and way to guide you into figuring out what makes sense for you to do throughout your life, whether it's a job, a hobby, and something that makes money, period. Like, this would definitely help you figure out something that just gives you an overall better quality of life. Now, when I really thought about this question, what I kind of really only broke it down to was simply, if you're following your passion, you'll end up finding your purpose. I know that may seem kind of vague because people's passions might be something that they don't think they can make money off of, or at least a lot of money off of. They don't see how that would guide them into their purpose. But for the most part, when you actually sit down and look at a lot of people, especially now with social media, because it's so prevalent now with so many people doing things that you wouldn't think would make them so much money and get them the reach that they have. When you think about what people are passionate about and what they actually love, is mainly something that they are willing to go 100% all in about. Thankfully, because of social media, you can actually make a good bit of money from it, whether or not it's something that conventionally makes a lot of money. Whether it's through brand deals, marketing, all types of stuff, it's an easier way to get what you want now because social media is that type of driving force. And when I think about passions and where people's passions typically come from, it usually starts throughout childhood. And that's because when you're a child, you don't have no responsibilities. You don't have to worry about bills. You don't have to worry about where your next meal is going to come from. You can kind of just be free and do whatever you feel is natural to you. If you have great parents, that's a lot easier. But for the most part, that's when you'll do it. Now, it's not solely the only place you find your passions, but it's definitely the first place that gives you the best hint towards what you naturally gravitate to. But as you get older, a lot of different passions come from trial and error and just trying out different things in life, and that comes from not restricting yourself more than anything. And from this generally comes a lot of failure, whether or not it's, something that's in your control or out of your control. Failure is just simply a part of life that we kind of necessarily don't have too much control over. We can only put our best foot forward, hope for the best, and get up and try again. When you think about failure, that's where a lot of learning comes from and a lot of great lessons come from, because without failure, you can't pivot, you can't grow from, constant success, because it's not something that actually builds resiliency for the most part. When you think about failure, everybody fails, even the most successful of us. And that's something that only the strongest can actually endure to actually get to that next step in life, because more than anything, everybody is not perfect. So when you think about what you have to do to get the life that you want, you have to be able to endure that type of pain to get past failure and build from that. And that lesson on failure is something that I kind of definitely wish I learned a lot sooner than I did being a 27-year-old. Now, I wouldn't say I learned it at 27. It was probably around 2020, 2021, somewhere around there. And that's when I really started to lock in and understand where I needed to do, where I needed to go, and what was stopping me. And to give a little bit more context, I feel like I gotta get not too personal, but just give a little quick excerpt on how I felt like my life was leading to this point. Now, coming up from elementary to high school, my entire life was pretty much sports, and more specifically football. Now, like plenty of black boys in my age, football was just a natural passion that, I fell into. And it was definitely easier for me to fall into it because the Pop Warner team that I played on was literally probably 10 blocks away from where I lived. So I always used to ride my bike there, go to practice, play football on Saturdays, and just live that type of kid life. It was real simple. Luckily, when I was starting out in football, finding my position was real simple, because almost from jump, from what I can remember, I was always a wide receiver. Finding out that I just had natural good hands, good feet, and could run a great route, that was something that I took pride in, because a lot of the coaches saw how great I was at the position. Now, I'm not trying to, make it seem like I was that great of a player, but that's honestly just how it kind of went. As soon as I got on the Pop Warner team, they kind of evaluate you based on your size, your weight, what type of athlete you were. And being a kid, they naturally, throw you into the offensive side first to see if you got any type of running back skills, catching skills, if you're a quarterback, things like that. And then if you don't have any of those, it's kind of like a default to go to defense. So it's kind of that natural progression. And it was quick for me to find out that I was just a receiver. Now, pairing being a good athlete with being a natural good student, it's kind of like the best of both worlds. From then on, I had a lot of adults telling me that I had a pretty good future ahead of me, because I wasn't in trouble, I was doing good in sports, and they didn't have to worry about my grades at all. Now, fast forward to high school, I was still doing what I needed to do, but being that a lot of adults told me that I was just naturally on the right progression to have a good future ahead of me, I would say it kind of made me more introverted than I probably could have been. Not could have been, but should have been. And I wouldn't say it's the main reason that I became so introverted like I was, but I would say I thought I just naturally just had to do what I needed to do, and that would kind of take care of the rest. I definitely became more reserved than my peers, and it definitely showed, especially when I got to college and everything. But during my senior year, I actually became captain of my football team. And that was basically just because I walked the walk rather than talking the talk. Like I said, not being outgoing and being an extrovert definitely showed, especially being a captain, because as most people know, you're that natural go-to person being the leader of your team. and you got to become more vocal than sometimes you're more comfortable with. And I definitely felt like it was something that I was proud of being, for sure, because it was something that was just a surprise to me that my actual coaches saw something in me that I didn't really see in myself, because I didn't even think being a captain was a thought in my mind. And this lack of knowing how to communicate with my peers and just people in general showed throughout different instances, especially things like team meetings and the pregame speech and everything like that, because I was definitely one of the last people to talk, and I probably said maybe 10 to 15 words, if that. But all in all, even though I was successful at these type of things, like in sports and academics, especially graduating magna cum laude, I would say overall it just definitely didn't prepare me for life after high school, especially going into college. Now, going into college, my main focus was still trying to get on the football team and to play collegiate football. And that led me to FAMU, especially with the fact that it's my dad's alma mater. It's kind of just right up the road going from Daytona to Tallahassee. And I didn't necessarily have to leave state, so I didn't have to worry about those crazy out-of-state tuition fees. And going into FAMU, choosing the degree that I did, which happened to be architecture, it was kind of just a natural progression, because throughout high school, we had things that I'm not sure is typical, which are called academies. And I was in specifically the one which was ADMT, which stands for Academy of Design and Manufacturing Technology. And for those who don't know, that's pretty much just figuring out how to build stuff, whether it's computer-based, working with your hands. And it was kind of just a natural progression to go into architecture, because I was working in Revit throughout high school, so that was kind of like easy for me to gravitate to, because I already had kind of a leg up on people who didn't already know Revit. Now, going into freshman year, I was going head first into trying to walk on the football team. And for some reason, everything that I did just wasn't working out in my favor. I don't know why, whether it was something that I can control, whether it was God telling me that my football time and my football career was up, or I don't know what the other reason could have been, but my football career stopped at high school. And from then on, I could only put all my focus into school, so kind of just went head first into architecture. And looking back at it, I definitely wish I could have took a gap year, because for the most part, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. That was just kind of like a natural degree that I was just going towards, because when it came down to it, my mom was already a city planner, which is kind of in the same, field. And my dad was a transportation engineer, which is also kind of in that realm at least. So becoming an architect kind of felt, simple to me to make a choice about. But I would say, definitely looking back at it, it's probably something that I definitely should have took more time to actually figure out my own thoughts and what I wanted out of life, because I really don't think I did enough due diligence on what it actually took to become an architect. Now, although I still did pass my classes and get my projects done, this led to a lot of long nights and a lot of time to actually think to myself, because when you really come down to it, like, that's all you can do when you don't know what direction you're going in. And for the most part, I would say I was just still getting by on the bare minimum without ever really understanding whether or not it was something that I was passionate about. And because quitting is something that is just foreign to me, I just naturally kept pushing through to actually get through the degree and to get to that next step and trying to find something to do outside of school. Now, although I got the grades that I needed to actually pass and graduate, I would say I didn't learn anything that would help me in the real world when it comes to a profession, career, and just garnering success, period. And not to throw shade on the school system, but when it really comes down to it, they don't necessarily teach you the actual skills that you need to actually progress in life in a positive way. For the most part, I would say they kind of just teach you to be an employee versus somebody who actually is successful. I would say I didn't learn the skills necessary to understand what is the best way that I learn, and figuring out natural soft skills that actually take people further than just learning things that you get in a textbook. But like I said, after I graduated, things definitely started to click and it became a turning point in my life. Actually reading up on my own about things that interest me, like learning how to learn, figuring out how important habits were, and different philosophies on making money, life, and how to be a better person in general was something that I knew was going to take me to that next level in life. Now, one thing that I've learned throughout all the knowledge that I've garnered that I feel not only has helped me, but could help you figure out what your passions are that could lead you to your purpose, is the concept of ikigai. Now, for those who have the same kind of timelines that I do, you kind of already know what this is. But for those who don't, it's basically just a Japanese concept or philosophy that basically helps you find your passions by putting them into 4 categories that kind of line up all together that would make sense for you. Now, these categories are something that you love, something that you're good at, something that the world needs, and something that people are willing to pay for. And for the most part, once you figure out all these different categories, it'll help you figure out what falls within all 4 at the same time. And that should be something that you could actually go through with. Now, that could be easy for somebody to figure out who doesn't have as many interests as I do. But for the most part, I've definitely had to take a step back, actually learn that I can't do everything all at once, and figure out what's more important in the now. Figuring that out is still a process for me, but at least I have some type of guidance. Now, after I learned that concept, it was kind of just a matter of retracing my life, and that kind of guided me to figuring out and learning who I was. And because I was on a better path to figuring out that, the next step was kind of just becoming a more successful man, which naturally began with learning how to figure out your own habits and taking away the bad habits that didn't serve me. And I would say I've definitely been getting a better grasp on that, but I'm not perfect. And it's definitely going to be a long road and something that I'll probably be continuing for the rest of my life, because it's something that you have to continually be disciplined at, which is more often than not the key to a successful life. And more than anything, I would say these videos have definitely became something that I've looked forward to actually creating, because it's definitely become one of my habits and a form of discipline that has led me to figuring out what I want to do for the rest of my life. Whether it's in the, YouTube space, whether it's something connected to architecture, whether it's something that is involving doing something with my hands, I have that type of guidance now. Now, looking back while I'm editing this video, I thought about it and I didn't actually answer the question that I gave to y'all. And to be honest with you, I probably won't give a clear answer on what it is I would do if I could do anything, just because in my head, if I say it right now, it'll be a whole bunch of stuff that'll jinx it and kind of get in the way, versus me just putting my head down, grinding, and get to it that way, and then let y'all see the results of my work. But more than anything, just know it'll pretty much be in the same realm of what I've already been doing, And for those who've been following me on social media, seeing my fitness stuff, as well as my personal website, as well as my photography website, y'all know those are kind of couple things that I've been working on, as well as some other stuff in the background. But like I said, won't give too much information on that. Like I said, y'all will just see the results when I get the job done. But more than anything, let's finish this video out. Now, hopefully this video was interesting or actually informative to somebody at least, because for me, it was definitely something that, like I said, took me out of my comfort zone, and just, I know overall it's going to help me progress in my communication skills, because that's honestly what this channel is kind of doing for me overall. More than anything, I know that if I get that type of skill up, the sky's the limit for me, to be honest with you, because if you know how to communicate, you can honestly write your own ticket to anything that you want to do. Because if you know how to talk any language, talk the language of money, you good. So hopefully you liked the video. Hopefully it was something you would actually subscribe to for more, at least. And let me know whether or not you want me to continue these and what other topics you want me to talk about. Because learning about this type of stuff, as well as getting my own thoughts out about it, something that I'm definitely interested in, and something I hope you're still interested in too. Other than that, man, hope you have a great day. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and continue to support your boy. Other than that, man, peace.